To Liverpool, if you are not from Liverpool, welcome to our friends from overseas, from Europe or whatever, because everybody is welcome in this amazing city, even a Scotsman like me, which also went through a referendum. I didn't come with any words to say today, because I didn't actually know that I'd be on a panel of all men. And we're talking about the downfall of democracy, and that includes we should have younger people, we should have a mixed gender, and people that represent the city and Europe sitting behind this table. So we're not only missing women, we're also missing a very young voice. Because actually none of us, although you may be young here, but none of us have any more rights than anyone else. It's an equal city, an equal country, and an equal world, or it should be. And there is a problem with democracy, is that politicians are not clear in what they are saying. They're not clear in what they are saying, in the use jargon like backstop and everything else. And who knows what that means? We don't make it clear, and we don't speak plainly, whether it's in English, or Scottish, or Welsh, or Irish, or French, or German, Spanish, whatever. Nobody is clear in terms of what the argument is, so we then go and read newspapers that make it clear. But those have an agenda, and that's called propaganda. And that propaganda comes from a particular source, with a particular agenda that might not be ours. But you know what? You say it often enough, it becomes ours, and we start to believe the narrative that comes from propaganda. And we should stop that. How? I haven't got the answer. But what I would say is, in terms of leadership, I believe that leadership needs to be honest. So if it's rubbish, if it's wrong, if it's difficult decisions that need to be made, tell people that. Make them. Make those decisions. But explain why. And understand the unintended consequences of what is happening. So at the beginning, I think it was Nick that may have mentioned it, we spoke about Northern Rock. Northern Rock put people into really difficult situations in this country and started the recession in this country because of decisions made many, many moons before at places like Lehman Brothers and others who got into this thing called subprime mortgages and subprime finance. What is that? Well, basically it means overinflated profits being made when you get a mortgage or take out a loan on a car and you pay 30%, 40% interest on it. What was worse is that Lehman Brothers and others then went to the market and said, well, we don't want to lose out here, so we'll go and get it insured. And then they insured it with companies like AIG, who then had no money to actually spend on giving people the insurance when things went wrong. And then Northern Rock went bust. And it affected you and I. And it affected Barclays, HSB, RBS, Lloyds, TSB, and all the others as well, because when we took out our mortgage, it seemed like a good deal, because nobody explained the small print. Maybe that's the issue, it's a small print in a referendum. It's a small print in a democracy that we never see. And I'll tell you how bad it is. Mary, yes. Are you on Facebook?
Yes.
Have you ever read the terms and conditions? No. Does anybody read the terms and conditions when they're presented with something on social media or when they get a statement from a bank or whatever? No, you don't. We never pay attention to it because we want an easy life. We accept the consequences of what those decisions are, and sometimes they're bad decisions. And actually, I want to see more plain English in this country, that we actually understand what it means. Our city council has accepted an inclusive growth plan. I hope you've all read it. You read it? What an exciting title. It's a manifesto. It's what you're going to do, what you're going to deliver to Liverpool and its residents, the 492,000 that live here in the city today. 444,000 in 2008. What an increase in numbers of people now living here. Not one of them will have read the Inclusive Growth Plan, but if we called it a manifesto, maybe they would have. If we'd written it in plain English, in words of 10 or less, we would have read it, rather than paragraphs of about 40 words. Because we don't read those. I'm not a big detail person. I'm very spatial. I like the right brain of my body, where I can be creative and talk about colours and smells and sounds, because that's what most people get. They understand the heart and the passion, not the detail. So I used to write computer programs, so maybe it's a bit of a different thing there, but I used to write statements and programs. And that's why I came to the city in the beginning from Scotland. But my background is Italian. My background is Turkish. My background is Egyptian, if you go back many, many years before. I don't care where anybody comes from. In a city like Liverpool, we've got 60 different languages being spoken here in Liverpool today. 120 different nationality backgrounds in Liverpool today. Liverpool became a wealthy city because of international trade. And then somebody shuts the door and says, maybe no more. Well, actually, it should be more. We should be looking and exploring and discovering opportunities to discover how we compete with others. And if we close doors, we'll never compete. We'll never innovate. We'll never get better. We'll never be right-brained and creative to understand what others are doing, whether they're from Europe or the Commonwealth, the Far East, the Middle East, and whatever. Let's welcome them all. I welcome Liverpool becoming the Republic of Liverpool. Wouldn't that be great? That doesn't mean to say that we're closing the doors to anybody else. What it says is everybody is welcome, everybody come here. And actually, maybe we have a republic. We've got a metro mayor now. We've got a devolved power in the city region. I think that's brilliant. I also think it's cynical of our national government to say to the electorate, here is your democracy. You can now deliver transport, economic development, and housing through the metro mayor. Oh, by the way, we're not giving you any more money. So when you make a mess of it, well, actually, we gave them the authority, we gave them the responsibility, but we didn't give them the fiscal management and the taxes that come from actually having that responsibility. That's wrong. When we pay fuel duty in the city, when we pay VAT and corporation tax and business rates, etc., we only get back from Westminster 1/25 of what we spend. What we give in our taxes, we should be getting more. Because you know what? It would save all of the authorities from making cuts when your granddad, your grandmother, your auntie, your mother, or whoever is getting social care, where most of it is being removed because there isn't enough money. Liverpool City Council has lost £444 million in its funding each year, core funding since 2010. The region, £1 billion, has been lost, taken away from us. And some of that, and this is the point, and I'm almost coming to a conclusion, some of that is causing the downfall in democracy. Because who do people blame? They blame the politicians locally, so they stop voting. That's one answer. They stop voting. Where you are now in the Richmond Hotel, only 11% of this area voted for politicians in the last election. That means that almost 90% not bothered. Didn't get involved because they don't think they can make a difference. So what's happening is less and less people are voting. Decisions are being made that you and I might go, oh my God, why did that happen? Where did that come from? And that's because of apathy. And do you know whose fault that is? Politicians. And it's getting the information out to our electorate to say, I made a mess, I've done a great thing. We're doing this, we're doing that. We're not telling people plainly and simply enough where they can actually trust us anymore. So we have to regain integrity and ethics and trust in politicians and decision makers, which was sadly lost. And it is being messed by Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and WhatsApp and everything else. WhatsApp less so, but it's actually a message that is being manipulated, where Facebook will tell you, when you see adverts coming up on Facebook's page, it's actually coming up for your likes. It's linked to Google, linked to everything else. So you actually see stuff that you love. You're not going to see the other side of the argument. You're never going to see the left brain. You're only going to see the right brain. And it's deliberate. So we only get involved in our little bubbles of our world. And that's all we think is happening. So if we believe there's a migratory problem, that's the kind of messages that we'll read and see all the time. There is a problem, but it's not as bad or as big as what is being promoted, because it is for another agenda. So in the Republic of Liverpool, doesn't matter where you're from, everybody will always be welcomed here. And I will always do what I can, but I will always be honest. I always respect other people's views, and I will always listen to what they have to say, because I've got two of those. And although I do talk a lot, as some people here will know, I actually listen even more, because I've not got all the answers. And I want to hear the questions and the challenges, and be constructive. Don't be negative, don't be nasty, don't be horrible, don't be trolling on Facebook or Twitter. Actually, come back to politicians and say, what about? Could we do this? Is it possible? Can I come and see you? Can I see the white of your eyes? That's better. Get in front of a politician and decisions makers, whether they're in corporate or not. Listen to everybody in a room, whether it's somebody greeting you at the reception upstairs. Their views are as important as the CEO of this business. They're probably just as bright. They've probably got more emotional intelligence or not. We don't know, but at least explore it with them. And whatever you do, going back to our friend's point at the very beginning, make sure you have a shared view of gender, sexuality, faith, colour, age, social economic groups, because we've all got a right to have an opinion, and maybe that can change. The problem is, at the moment, it's changing in some ways in the wrong direction, in some ways, because it's becoming very left, but it's not. It's what the press tell you. It's just people with anger. Very right, and maybe it's not. It's people with anger, because they're not hearing all the right things. So maybe we can start actually promoting the right things together. And of course, you are in the best city in the north of England. Be very careful what I say. Although Warrington's very nice as well. Yeah. And Bolton and Manchester. Actually, we're all a speck when it comes to the rest of the world. We've got 15 million people living in a northern powerhouse, the super region. It would be the 5th largest European state if it was a state. Do you know what? Let's do more of it. And at that point, I'm finishing because the really important mayor is walked in, Mayor Joe Anderson. But ladies and gentlemen, Garry Millar is my Twitter address. You'll always see positive statements on that. Garry Millar, A-R, that's a Scottish version. Tweet me. Instagram, Garry Millar UK. Facebook, Garry Millar. And if you're on WeChat, which is Chinese, it's Garry Millar UK as well. So we are international, I'm international, and thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.